Hello and welcome to Interactive Music Theory Level 1. My name is Kelvin Cummings and this is lesson 12 out of 14 lessons, all to do with music theory. All of the information you will be able to find in the descriptions down below. We've got the work booklet that I'm going to be referring to, we've got extension puzzles, we've got all the notes that I'm going to be covering within this session here, plus a couple of other really useful websites there as well. So without further ado, let's get underway with today's lesson, which is going to be looking at intervals and the importance of that within music theory. We're going to identify intervals from the first through to the octave, or the eighth, within that, just by the numbers alone. We're going to be refining our knowledge of writing music and being able to identify weaknesses within the note spacings. We're going to revise our knowledge of musical terms. We're going to learn some of the principles to do with simple rhythmic composition. So this is when you're writing your own pieces of music. We're going to figure out what rhythmically sounds and feels good to the ear, and we're going to be doing a little bit more assessing there when it comes to your knowledge of musical terms. Information for today in this lesson, we've got 24, so this is page 24, 46 and 37, so make sure that you're referring to your work booklet as referred to just in the description down below. Alright, so the order we're going to hit things today, we're going to revise over our pitches first, so this is how high or how low notes are. Intervals, we're going to have a look at the sound of intervals, note spacing, so that's that kind of what it looks like on a piece of paper. We're going to have a look at revising some of the symbols that we've come across in the past. We're going to check your knowledge of some of those different terms there, and I'm going to give you an opportunity to play a game of tic-tac-toe with somebody at home, or noughts and crosses, depending on where you're from. There's a little bit of a listening test there, which is going to be able to test your knowledge of what you can hear in regards to the differences between intervals. There's a bit of rhythmic composition to get you starting to write some music now. And then we've got the extension puzzle there before I get you to do yet another assessment to be able to test all of that knowledge. So make sure that you're locking this information in your head so that you're trying to memorize as much of this as possible. You won't always be able to refer back to your books. We want this to be in your head. That's why we're here to learn. So let's have a quick revision of some of these notes. Now, having a look at these here, that one there which is on that ledger line just beneath that, there is a C. We've got to the second space there from the bottom. That one there looks like it's going to be an A note. We've got this one here. Now it's got that B symbol there, with that, as we've discussed in previous lessons here, that is a flat, which is on a D note this time round, so that is going to be a D flat. It could also be referred to as a C sharp if we're talking about the key itself. However, in that case there, it is saying a D flat. Alright, we've got a G this time round here. I know that because it is sitting on top of that space, or in the space just above this treble clef here. We've got an E flat this time round. We've got that one there, it's on that C line, but it's got that sharp symbol, so we've got a C sharp this time around. We've got this one here just before a C, so go back a step there. We've got a B this time round, we'll fix up that sharp there, and then we've got this G note, but it's got a flat before it. Now that's the ones on the treble clef. Let's have a quick revision of the ones here on the bass clef. So first of all, let's look at the dot. So the dot there says that is on an A, but it's a flat version of that. So it's the black key just before that A. This one here, it's on the F line. I know that because that's that bass clef is also known as an F clef. So we've got that one there. We've got an F note there ready to go. Here we go with our G. That's a G sharp. However, I can tell that because in this case here, it's got that sharp symbol just beforehand in the correct location. We've got this one here. We've got the D line. So there's my D note there on a bass clef. But that one there is a sharp there ready to go. We've got this one. Now that's the C just above, and that space above, that's a B in this, it's an A in the space below. That there is a B note, but it is a flattened version of a B. That one there, because it's on the ledger line just above, just above the ledger line there, that one, if it was physically on the line, that would be middle C. So that one there is sitting on the space just above. So that is obviously the note just above that C. So that is a D. We've got this one here going down. Now let's work on your steps down here. So C, B, A, G, F, that one there. Whoops, No, go back, sorry. So C, B, A, G, F, E. Alright, and then we've got that one there which is on that A, but it's a sharpened version of that. Okay, so that's just us revising where these particular pitched notes are. So, here on page 24, what we're having a look at this lesson is we're going to be checking out what intervals happen to be dropped into place. So, an interval is the distance between the two different notes. Now, last time we had a look at scales, or scale degrees, where we looked at the tonic note and we looked at the first, second, third, fourth, fifth note all the way through there. But in this particular case here, we're going to be looking at how the notes sound when they're played together. Now, for example, in this one here, if we had a middle C and a middle C playing simultaneously, maybe we had two different singers singing that middle C, or a piano playing a middle C and a violin maybe, I don't know. That would look like that. Those would be what's known as a first or unison notes. Unison meaning that it is played the exact same note at the same time. Okay, we've got the seconds where we've got that middle C there playing with the second degree note there. So that would be playing, for example, that and that there together. So, which sounds kind of a little bit distorted there. We've got kind of a tonal jump on that, and it gets progressively larger as things get on. Now, let's see if we can put this into action. We need to be thinking about numbering these notes off. Now, thankfully, all of these are in the middle C, so, oh sorry, they're in the key of C, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So C to D, E, F, G, A, B. One more time with the numbers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 on G, 6 on A, 7 on B, and then we've got that C there again, which is a full octave above. So, let's have a quick wee look. There's your C, going to an F this particular time there, C, D, E, F. In this particular case here, we'd be working with a fourth. Now, it's a melodic fourth this time around here, because we've got one note there, and then it's followed by that. So in this particular case, we're talking about a melody which goes da, 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 da. So we've got a nice wee potential start to a song by using that melodic fourth. It does, like it's quite nice to the ear. Then we've got this G going to an A. In this particular case here, what we're looking at is a second. Now, I know that I was counting from C there earlier on, but G is our first note. Then we've got that A here as a second. So 1, 2. Okay, so we're working that particular melodic note this time around. So we've got G for our first note. We've got D for our next note here. So G being 1, A, B, C, D. This one here, fifth on this one here. And fifths generally sound quite complementary to themselves as well. They sound like this. Perfect example of this is in Snow White and Seven Dwarfs. So we've got that fifth there, that perfect fifth, being able to work its way in there, and that's a very, very well used piece of music. Now here we go, we got an F for our first one, so F is going to be our number one note this particular time. F, F going to an A, so we've got F, G, A. This particular one here, we've got a third. Now thirds, we generally are having a whole pile of, what's the best way to describe this, harmonies. When we've got people working in choirs and various other things there. Generally, thirds and fifths are kind of the things that they generally use, and you'll find it quite a lot within pop music as well. Alright, so there goes your first answers here on page 24. Still on page 24, we've got these intervals here. Now we need to name these particular ones here as well. So, now we're working with the bass clef here, so we're working with a low C this time round. Whoop, there we go. So there goes my low C, and I'm going to be going to, in this case here, an A. So C, D, work your way up to C, D, E, F, G, A. That's your sixth note within this one here. which would sound like, and I'll just get rid of that there for a time. Sounds like. So it's got a kind of a, like it's almost like it's kind of extending on itself and being able to, like it still needs to be resolved, but still works quite comfortably within that, especially when we're talking about pentatonic scales, which is something a little bit further down the track. Right, bass clef here, we've got that note there, which, if you're able to work your way back through there, so C, B, G, and then we've got, A, G, so we've got a G note there, we've got an F note there. Now that's quite a large gap. Now have a think about it. G, well actually it's a low G this time around, so it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now we've got that there, because it's an F, this one here, but in this particular case here, we're talking about a seventh. Reality is, if we're talking about a G major scale, this one here should actually be a sharpened note, but we are looking at a seventh this time around in regards to its interval. Here we go, we've got an F here and we've got an F here, because we've got both exactly the same note. These ones here are one or unison, okay? Unison or first within that there, which is quite simple to play. Yeah, just exactly the same note. So this one here, we've got a low G, we've got a D there in that second note, so G, number 1. A, number 2, B, number 3, 4 is going to be, G, number 1, A, number 2, B, number 3, C, number 4, D, number 5. So this is our 5th interval within this, okay? Which in this case here, starting to work with that particular melody there again. Right, so let's reinforce that information. What is an octave? Think of the start of that word, oct, okay? So octave, octagon, all of those different things there representing going a full set of 8 notes. So it is going from that C to that C, or that G to that G, or that F to that F. So it's going a full set of 8 notes. Alright, so we've got that full set there. Now what does unison mean? Well, if we have a unicycle, then we're talking about a bike which has only got one wheel. So the word uni representing 1 in this particular case here. So we're talking about the same note. Okay? So there on page 24, what is an octave? Well, an octave is the distance from one note here, so like say middle C, through to high C would be an octave. What is unison? Well, unison is the exact same note, so it's middle C, or F, F. They're exactly the same. So let's have a look at these ones here. Now we need to draw our intervals this time round. So with this one here, it's wanting us to do the 4th over that middle C. Now if we go back to our keyboard here, and this here I'll make available in the link down below. So this is a website called onlinepianist.com /virtual-piano. Alright, and there's a whole pile of different types of them, but this one here I use quite a bit. So in this case here, we are looking for the 4th above that middle C. So here's my middle C. We're looking for the 4th. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So we're looking for the 4th. 1, 2, 3, 4. You'll notice that it is an F this time around. So in this case here, we are wanting to draw in this F note. So, like so. Filling the top, or you're filling that space, hit the top line and the bottom line there, and we can confirm that like so. Okay, let's go to this one here. We're looking for the 2nd this time around here, and it's starting off in an F note. So F for number 1, G, I'm going to make that a little bit nicer than that. Make sure it's definitely on that space there. G just above. Okay, so you notice that it is just moving straight up to there. So we're looking the note pretty much right beside. So there's my F, there's my G. Okay, good example of a tone, that one. So we're wanting an octave this time round. Remember that an octave is from that note all the way up to the one just above it. So that note there is a G. We're looking for the G going up to the top. We're going G, A, B, C, D, E, F, you need to make sure that you put your next note there on that top space there, because that is a G, that is a G, that there gives, oh whoops, pop that down here. So we're looking for a fifth that time around. Whoops, that was my mistake. So we're looking for a D there, okay? So that G, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, sorry, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we're looking for that gap there. Now, since I spotted that weird error there, I've already come back and I've fixed this last one here. We're looking for a full octave of this. So here's my middle C. I've dropped that into an octave, a full set of notes there, right above that, which has given me this here, that low C, high C. So we've got the gap there as well. So intervals is how far these two notes relate to each other. Alright, so let's have a look and see if we can do the same here for these bass notes and see if I can do it a little bit better this time. Alright, so third, we're looking for the low C this time around, so we're looking for that one, number 2, here's our third note, so it is an E this time round, so here's my C, D, and E is sitting there on that space. We have that confirmed right here, okay, C up to that E there. Right, unison, meaning that we're wanting to have both of these notes here exactly the same. So there is my F note there. I'm going to create another F note here. I'm going to make sure that it definitely sits on that line. Perfect. Like so. Okay, unison, exactly the same note. Here we go. We've got this one here. This is a sixth this time around here. There's my G. I'm going to go to the sixth note within that scale. So G, A, B, C, D. That's right, it's going to be an E this time around, so it's going to be sitting on that one there. I'm going to make sure that it fills the space rather than going too high up. So that one there should be sitting like that. And then we've got the second, which is going to be sitting above this high G. So this one, G, so you're going to be just above it on that A, like so. Okay, intervals, all to do with how the first note relates to that second note there. All right. So let's see if we can listen to the different notes within these here. So when we are listening to seconds, we are noticing that these two notes here happen to be really, really close to each other. When we're listening to thirds, we can hear that they are in a nice harmony with each other. They work really, really comfortable with each other. Remember how this one here clashed? Okay, this one here, a beautiful harmony that works with that. Now the octave is going to be the same note, but they're going to be that full octave apart. It's like this. Now believe it or not, there's actually two notes in that. We've got a and a note happening simultaneously. Okay, so seconds crunching against each other. Thirds are in harmony. Octaves are a full distance apart. So let's have a listen to these ones here and figure out where these go. And we've got 12 of them, so I'm only going to play them twice. Okay? And we're going to drag the numbers up to the right place. So let's have a listen to number 1. Okay, and here's the second play. And you notice how they're kind of clashing in with each other. So number 1, whoops, we'll go back there. Number 1 is going to be in this wee section here. Okay, so there's number 1 done. Let's have a listen to number 2. Okay, one more time there on number 2. Now that's quite a stretch, those two notes. So this time here, that one, nope. They do kind of work in harmony with each other, but it is a massive, massive stretch this time around here. Number 2 is going to be sitting up there in the full octaves. Right, let's have a look at number 3. We got a so we got those ones there working in a lovely harmony with each other. And because they're working in harmony with each other, that means that this 3 here is sitting up as a third. That's the example of that. Let's have a look at number 4. Now those seem like they're kind of crashing into each other a little bit, but let's have one more listen. Okay, so knowing what we know, not going to be full octave, so it's not a big stretch. They don't work nicely with each other as far as a harmony bunch of notes go. this here is an example of a second. Let's have a look at number 5. These ones sound nicer together, but are they a big distance apart like an octave, or are they closer together like these ones? We got a na da. Now it's not a full set of notes, so it wouldn't be na da. No, so we got this time round. That is an example of a third. Let's have a look at number 3. Oh, sum of number 6. Okay, one more time. In this case here, that is also sitting in that harmony line there as well. We got a na na. We got those two there working with each other. Number 7. Okay, and one more time there. So in this case, they still sound really, really lovely together as far as 2 harmony notes go. So we've got 2 notes here sitting on that third there, so that one there. In fact, they're exactly the same note as my example here. So here's number 8. Now we can hear in this one that we've got quite a low note and we've got quite a high note. Let's listen one more time. So that there can only be an example of an octave this time around here. So number 8 is an example of an octave. We've only got 4 to go. Let's see if we can get them. Number 9. All right, one more chance of that. Now those there don't sound like they're working in harmony with each other. They sound like they're kind of crashing. So that there is an example of a second at this time round. Let's go to number 10. Okay, so we've got 2 extreme notes here. We've got a high note and a low note. They're both tonics of each other. This here is an example of an octave. Here's number 11. Almost exactly the same. Only difference between those two there is this one here happens to be moving both of those notes up 1 space. And here goes my last one, number 12. Okay, and one more playing of that. They're not far, like they're not a big distance apart from each other like those octaves. They're not in perfect harmony like a third. This one here, number 12. We're looking at those there being examples of seconds. Okay, so moving along. On page 46 of the workbooklet, which is available in the description below, you'll notice that we are talking about note spacing. Now, note spacing, the space should be according to their time values. Okay, so for example, if we've got minims, they should take up the space that a minim should within that bar, knowing that, you know, normal bars, or most common bars have 4 beats to the bar. So a minim should pretty much take up kind of 1/2 of that bar to be able to make that up. Now, let's have a look at this. For example, we've got these ones here. I've written bad, I know. It's not that it's bad, it's just that it's wrong. So in this case here, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4. They're all beamed together, so they're examples of quavers, or those half beats. So we've got half, 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 and you'll notice that these 2 full beats out of this bar are taking up like 80% of this bar, so it's not going to work this time around here. So in this case here, we've got that taking up a darn sight less space than what it was before, meaning that that minim has got it's got a lot more space to be able to, you know, work within that there. So we're able to recognise straight away that each of these here is a little bit quicker, definitely quicker than that. That one there is quite a long note, and it's being able to take up that space there. Now let's have a look at this here as an example as well. So the bars should also be kind of, you know, distributed nice and evenly as well. So in this case here, we've got a whole beat, we've got a bit of a gap here for some reason. We've got these quavers here all bunched together, and then we've got a big gap here as well. So try to distribute them nice and evenly. So 2 things. One is that we're looking for making sure that things are given their right amount of value in regards to space, and equally we're wanting to make sure that the bar itself is distributed nice and evenly as well here on page 46. So, knowing that, what we need to do here is to be able to write this piece of music out with the correct amount of spacings. Now, I've got an example sitting under here which I'm going to move in about 5 seconds, so be careful on that. But you'll notice that some of these ones here are gapped in quite a bit. In order to get these looking correct, what we need to do is we need to be able to distribute those out so that they're looking nice and neat and evenly distributed for that one there. We're making sure that that minim there is given a little bit more space, so it's got some actual value of note to go with it. We've distributed these nice and evenly. We've got these distributed evenly all the way through. Now notice that that one there, as much as that's a whole beat note and it's only taking up that last space there, each of these notes here happens to be spaced evenly. That's really important. And then we've got the semi-brief is right here at the start to be able to give us that whole bar's worth of whole note there. Okay, we've got the double bar line there at the end to be able to reinforce that. All of that, hopefully you've been able to copy that and be able to lay it out accurately here on page 46. So, note spacing. What we're going to do is we're going to give you an opportunity here to be able to copy this out as neatly as you possibly can, which you'll notice that there is space to do that for a second one within your work booklet there as well. This is plain and simply just a copying out task. It's given you a good example of how to be able to place these notes. Make sure that you get the amount of space accurate. Make sure that you have these quavers and things like that distributed in such a way that you can see them nice and accurately above and below as well. Okay, let's go on to something else. After you've done the copying of those there, let's get ourselves back to remembering what these different terms here stand for. So we've got that one there, we've got this one here, like each of them stands for something. So crescendo, one of these here is a crescendo. Crescendo meaning that we are going from a small, like A volume, and we're making it louder. It's like we're turning up the stereo, turning up the PA to be able to make it louder. Out of these ones here, which one of those does it matter? Well, fortissimo is very loud, so it could be something to do with that, but it's not this time around. It's a symbol saying we're getting louder, not we are loud. So in this case here, the only one that works is this one. So starting off at a small volume, getting yourself progressively to a louder volume there, that is an example of a crescendo. Now, fermata, that's the one which I really love. It's the one where you basically sit on that note and you just kind of really go to town on it. And yeah. It's perfect for being able to finish a song on guitar or sing or piano, whatever it happens to be, and you just totally eat it up. That symbol there, that little dot with the kind of little igloo sort of thing popping over the top of it, would sit above that last note within your piece of music, and that fermata, which is what that symbol stands for, would be able to be identified by the musician as the notes to just sit on and absolutely just kind of savor it up and just kind of showcase your skills, I guess. Fortissimo. Forte means loud, which would be one F. Fortissimo means very loud. We've got two Fs there. Signo is the one which has got that one there. Effectively just means sign for us. So when we're going and reading through a piece of music and it says go back to singo, or we go to that point there. All right. We've got two other symbols here. We're very familiar with that sharp, not a hashtag, ladies and gentlemen. There's a sharp, meaning that it's the black key just above a white one. And then we've got this flat, which is the black key just below one of those ones there. Okay? So, knowing that there, quick wee game that you can be doing with somebody at home is you can have a game of tic-tac-toe or noughts and crosses here. You have to be able to identify what these things mean before you can actually claim the spot. So, for example, I know that, well, let's go staccato. I know that staccato are those short stabby type notes there, so I would be able to choose that one there, and then somebody else would go, well, I know that accelerando happens to mean speeding it up. I can hear it within that keyword there, accelerate and things. So make sure that you are able to test yourself against somebody else there. I'm going to leave a blank for you within the notes so you can just copy that one out and be able to test yourself on that knowledge there. Alright, so intervals. knowing what we know about intervals here, and the first note within the scale, the second, so first within the scale, the second, the thirds, the fourths, the fifths, the sixths, the sevenths, and the eighths. What we're going to do here is we're going to try and listen to the intervals here and figure out which within these are seconds, where they're kind of clashing against each other. We did a listening task with that earlier on. Which are thirds, where we've got like harmonies of them, which are octaves, which is that full set of notes, and which ones are right at the exact same note, so they'll be in unison. So, for number one, on a blank piece of paper, let's see if you're able to pick the differences or pick out which one of these intervals is the second interval. So, for example, C to a D, or a G to an A, that sort of stuff there. So, for number one, is the second A? Is it B? Or is it C? Alright, now one of those is correct. The second we know is relatively close. It's not really in harmony, so it's going to be a clashing sort of noise. Let's have a listen again. Number one, which is the second, is it A? Is it B? Or is it C? Okay, now you've already got your answer in this particular case here. If you chose B, that's those two notes kind of clashing in against each other there, you would have been correct. For number two, which of these intervals is a third? So with thirds, we're looking for something which is kind of in harmony. It will sound really, really nice. So with two, is it A? Probably not. I don't know. Well, it doesn't sound as smooth as it could. Is the third B? Possibly. Or is it C? So we're looking for the one which sounds the nicest, okay, for third. So for number two, is it A? B? Or C? You should have your answer by now. The correct answer this time around here is... no, it's not that. It is B. Okay, so this particular one here is B. Now, let's have a quick look at this number three. Which of these intervals is an octave? So we're looking for one note low, one note quite high, but it's going to be the same tonic note at both ends. So like a middle C to a high C, or a low G to a high G, that sort of thing there. Okay, well, we've definitely got two extreme notes there, but are they the same? Those are working nice in harmony with each other. Those ones sound like they're a big distance apart and the same. Let's have a look. So which of these intervals is an octave? Now, if you got your answer there, you should have C. So the two notes is so you got those two notes there. For number four, which of these intervals is a unison? Unison meaning exactly the same. They work nice in harmony with each other. Okay. So one of those is in unison. So let's figure out exactly which one it was. So which of these intervals is a unison bunch of notes? So you should have your answer by now, and if you chose B, you'd be correct. You can only even really hear that one note, so what we're assuming is happening, because we can hear the two violins are playing there. Well, actually flutes by the sounds of it. Like we've got the two notes happening there, but in this case here, we've got two notes on the exact, the two instruments are playing the exact same note, so we can't really even distinguish the difference there. So B would be our correct answer. So Rhythmic composition. Let's move on. We are now looking at page 37 of that work booklet in the description down below. And what we're going to be discussing within these music theory exams when it comes to composing rhythmic pieces there is that we need to be thinking about what's already been given to us and being able to drop in some other stuff that's going to be able to equal what's been requested of us. But equally, in saying that, we're going to be able to make sure that there's similar notes to what we've been given. So we're not going to just create a whole pile of other random notes that don't really follow the pattern. We're going to have a look at the time signature to make sure that we write the correct number of beats worth. But we're going to try and finish on a longer note. Generally crotchet, or preferably longer if we can. So let's have a quick wee look at this. Out of these ones, here on page 37, we've got pattern here which sounds like this. So we've got 1, 2, 3 and 4, 1 and 2 and 3, 4. So we've got that pattern there, and what we're going to try and do is we've got to figure out of these ones, and we've only got crotchets for the whole beats or quavers for the half beats to work with. Oh, actually we've got one which is a minim there too. So we've got to figure out which one of these best fits our particular rhythm. Okay, so let's have a listen to this one for A, for example. So let's go 1, 2, 3 and 4, 1 and 2 and 3, 4, 1 and 2, 3, 4, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Now if we have a look at our previous notes here, one of the things that we're not wanting to do is to finish on notes which are long, so we want to finish on notes which are a crotchet beat or longer, okay? Generally, you won't finish on that one there, so I'm going to say probably not that one, okay? Let's have a look at the second one here, so let's have a look at B. 1, 2, 3 and 4, 1 and 2 and 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1 and 2 and 3, 4. Well, okay. I noticed something which isn't working here. That there, it's missing this particular part here. So that one there will not work. Okay, we've got 4 beats in all of these, and then we've only got filled up 3 beats here, so that won't work. Let's have a look at this next one. So this is the third one down here. 1, 2, 3 and 4, 1 and 2 and 3, 4, 1 and 2, 3, 4, 1 and 2 and 3, 4. That one does fill up its bar. This one could work, so I'm going to just put a wee dot here just to say that we might come back to that one. So for C might do it. Let's have a look at number 4 though. 1, 2, 3 and 4, 1 and 2 and 3, 4, 1, 2, 3 and 4 and 1. Ooh, hold up. What's happening here? 1, 2, 3 and 4, 5 and we've got 5 beats in this bar. Not gonna hack it, sorry D. So that means our correct answer can only be C in this particular rhythm here, because we've got 4 beats in each of these and we're finishing off on a nice longer note there. Okay, makes sense? So the things we're looking for, a reminder, similar notes to what's been given to us, watching that the time signature is being taken care of, and we're finishing on a crotchet or a longer note. So, knowing that, still on page 37, this is your opportunity to get a little bit creative, and the answers that I'm going to give here are by no means the only answers that you can be given. So, for example, in this case here, we've got a 2-4. So, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to try and fill up this piece of music here in such a way that it is going to be still accurate to the time signature, so we're still only going to put 2 beats in each bar, or 2, or fill up that bar or measure with 2 beats, but I'm going to try and finish it off on a nice long note. So for example, in this case here, I'm going to have a minim there. That's going to play my last note nice and straight there. And in this case here, I'm going to go, actually I'm going to kind of copy that second bar. I like that second bar there. So we've got, in this case here, 1, 2, 1 and 2, 1 and 2, 1, 2. So that there is an example of one rhythm which could potentially work. That's an example of another rhythm that could potentially work. There's a whole pile of them, but you'd probably be finishing on that, or maybe 2 of those crotchets there in that last bar. as long as you're not finishing off with quavers in this one here, I think you're fine. As long as it's still working so that there's 2 beats within each of these bars, I think you'll be fine there as well. Let's have a look at this 3/4. So we've got 1, 2, and 3. 1, 2, 3. 3. So this time round, I'm going to drop in a couple of quavers here. I'm going to drop in a crotchet note, and I'm going to drop in another couple of quavers. So that's going to fill up this particular bar, 1 and 2, 3, and I'm going to drag that over. Drag this one over here a bit more. That's a bit nicer. And I'm going to put 1 crotchet here, and I'm going to finish off on this minim here. So 1 and 2, 3, and 1, 2, 3. Okay, so that's an example of one which could work. So from the start of this 3/4, so 3 beats in the bar, 1, 2, and 3, 1, 2, 3, 1 and 2, 3, and 1, 2, 3. Now that's an example of one potential correct answer. That is an example of another correct answer. They've even dropped in the dot there to be able to fill up the entire bar. I didn't give you that option, but if you wanted to, you can totally do that. But main point I'm trying to get across here with these rhythmic patterns here is that you have to follow the time signature. Make sure that you're not going over or under that particular amount. Make sure that you're finishing off with something which is going to be a little bit longer, so crotchets or minims or dotted minims, semi-breves, if you've got the amount of space to do that, would work. And making sure that you don't finish off with anything which is too speedy. Right, so let's give this another go. So here we go, we've got 4/4 this time around here. So completing this, I am going to go, I'm going to drop in 4 of these 4 of these quavers here. I'm going to drop in a crotchet and maybe another couple of quavers just to really mess things up, and 2 minims, I think. Whoops, let's go that one there. So in this case here, my pattern there, I've finished off with some long notes. I know that I have to only fit this with 4 beats, so 1 and 2 and 3, 4, and so both of those would work. In this particular case here, that's an example of one that would work. This one would also work because it's still finishing on a long note and some short ones there. So here's my example: 1 and 2 and 3, 4, 1 and 2, 3, 4, 1 and 2 and 3, 4, and 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's mine. We've got another example here of 1 and 2 and 3, 4, 1 and 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1 and 2 and 3, 4. Okay. All of those still very valid here on page 37. Let's see if we can fill up this 2/4. So we've only got 2 beats in this particular bar. We've got to fill them in this place here. So, for example here, I'm just going to go real simple. I'm just going to go, whoops, I'm going to drag this particular note down. And that one's going to go down here. And I'm just going to drop in a minim just to finish it all off. Okay, so super simple way to finish this rhythm here. It's still accurate though. So 1-eander, because remember each of these semi-quavers here are really fast. It's a quarter of a beat. 1-eander, 1-eander, 2, 1 and 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. So that one there is getting progressively slower as we go through, but still accurate. And how about that? It's the exact same example there. So 1-eander, 2, 1 and 2, 1, 2, 2. Okay, so there, making sure that we're able to follow the patterns of the rules that apply, using similar notes to what's been given, watching the time signature, and making sure that you're finishing off on a crotchet or a note that is longer than that. Okay, so reminder that at the end of all of these here, we've got a whole pile of puzzles. This one here is being able to reinforce some of those Italian terms that you've been able to come across. You should be able to find, and all of these across ones here, that all the letters hopefully should be able to fit in nice and accurately there as well.
But wait, there's more.
At the end of this lesson, it's really important for you to test your knowledge up to this point. So in the description down below, I have dropped in the link for Assessment 3. So make sure that you are going through that. Try to do it without all of your notes there. Take a risk. Make sure that you're able to memorize as much of that information as possible. If you have to refer back to it, fine, do it. But do take a gamble and try to get your notes in place. I mean, the worst thing that could happen is that you find out that you've got the wrong one, and then you'll be able to kind of revise, look back at your notes and go, oh, exactly, I remember that now. So when it comes to exams later on down the track, that you'll be able to memorize all of that information. So thank you very much for joining me again on Interactive Music Theory Level 1. My name is Kelvin Cummings. You've just finished watching lesson 12 out of 14 sessions. I look forward to catching up with you next time. Ka kite, have a good day.